Hi, Mark, and today I want to talk about Brexit and its consequences. Yeah, again. At that time, the course of the customs borders was negotiated for a long time as part of the exit talks between the EU and the United Kingdom. It was clear to everyone involved very early on that a withdrawal agreement would have to take into account special circumstances on the island of Ireland. The 1998 Good Friday Agreement, which stipulates that a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland must be avoided, should remain in place to ensure smooth cooperation between the two parties. After the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol came into force on January 1st in 2021, this border theoretically ran between Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom in the Irish Sea, but in practice caused a significant delay in the movement of goods. The agreed good checks between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, so Great Britain, sometimes led to difficulties in trading in individual products. Customs needed time for previously unnecessary checks and formalities, and as a result, Ireland was particularly hard hit economically by Brexit, as 85% of exports have so far gone through the duty-free ports of Holyhead, Liverpool, and Calais, and this route was now seriously disrupted. I mean, Northern Ireland. Even the delivery of mail faced problems, and Northern Ireland's supporters of the union with Great Britain felt isolated from the rest of the kingdom, although it was just imagination. The compromises found between the EU Commission and the British government should significantly reduce the administrative burden for companies trading with Ireland. Time will tell whether the new green corridor of the so-called Windsor framework can solve the existing problems. All simplifications of the so-called Windsor framework adopted on February 27th in 2023 apply exclusively to the movement of goods between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And this point is very important for everyone involved. Nothing changes for the movement of goods from, example, Germany here or the EU to Northern Ireland. All deliveries are still classified as intra-EU trade and are therefore considered intra-community deliveries. In principle, Northern Ireland is still part of the United Kingdom when it comes to sales tax. However, the protocol provides for an important exception there because European sales tax law continues to apply to goods. This is because, unlike Britain, Northern Ireland has remained in the EU's internal market for goods. In the future, however, there will be significantly more exceptions to this rule for goods that do not enter the EU internal market. If they remain in Northern Ireland, the European sales tax rates may be deviated from. This will apply to products such as heat pumps and solar panels, which can be sold free of VAT if installed in Northern Ireland. However, German companies, for example, with subsidiaries in the United Kingdom that deliver goods to Northern Ireland and or the Republic of Ireland, should familiarize themselves with the existing UK trader scheme, in particular with the trusted trader scheme and the requirements as authorized carriers. And everybody from the EU would, but I always say Germany because I'm sitting here in Germany. In future, there will be two routes for importing goods from Great Britain to the island. What is intended for consumption in Northern Ireland will only be checked in exceptional cases and will take the so-called green lane. Goods destined for the Republic of Ireland or the EU are checked as before and follow the red lane. A revised and more accessible trusted trader scheme for UK domestic traders is set to support traffic to Ireland in the future, as well as new data sharing arrangements using trade data and technology to monitor trade flows. In order to be able to act as a trusted trader, exporters must register and obtain authorization from the relevant British authorities, the British Revenue and Customs Service. To do this, they must meet certain conditions, such as proving their financial reliability. They must also provide a detailed listing of their goods that are regularly shipped to Northern Ireland and ensure traceability. In addition, to ensure that the people of Northern Ireland are better represented than before in decisions relating to the movement of goods, a new emergency mechanism, the so-called storm and break, is put in place. This mechanism allows the UK, in exceptional circumstances and at the request of at least 30 members of the Northern Ireland Legislative Assembly, to repeal the application of legislation which may have a significant and lasting impact on the daily life of communities in Northern Ireland. The supplementary agreements of the Windsor framework simplify exports to Ireland significantly, but do not completely eliminate the bureaucratic requirements. If the goods are to be imported duty-free, there are additional conditions. Companies must then confirm that their goods can be assigned to specific product groups. These include, just as an example, food for sale to consumers in the UK, building materials in Northern Ireland, health and care services, animal feed for personal use, and for processing non-sale goods. Strict import regulations have previously applied to food in particular, but these will be significantly reduced in the future. There are fewer checks on goods that remain in Northern Ireland, and health certificates are no longer required for each individual consignment. UK suppliers can instead use a single document for a bulk delivery to declare that all goods are destined for the Northern Ireland market. But retailers must label goods accordingly. Parcel service providers and online retailers also benefit from the simplifications because the trusted trader scheme can also be used for business shipments. Shipments to end consumers from Great Britain to Northern Ireland can be declared by approved service providers, the so-called authorized carriers, with a simplified customs process. Another point of contention between the EU and the UK was the availability of medicines. The provisions of the EU internal market previously applied here, meaning that there were higher hurdles for imports from Great Britain. The agreement provides that medicines authorized in Great Britain can also be marketed in Northern Ireland. Labeling with a UK-only label applies for this. For small business owners whose products do not fall within the above categories, the turnover threshold for obtaining a tax exemption has been raised from the current £500,000 to £2 million. In addition, they no longer have to prove a place of business in Northern Ireland, only in Great Britain. What is also new is that the regulation no longer only applies to direct importers but also to intermediaries. Conversely, goods from Northern Ireland that are exported to Great Britain will no longer require export declarations. There is still no start date for the introduction of the measures, only an approximate timetable. The Trusted Trader Scheme is expected to start in September 23, provided that the responsible EU authorities are given access to the British IT systems and databases. The British authorities must also have granted interested companies approval for the Trusted Trader Scheme. A year later, from September 24, the system of authorized carriers for B2C shipments is to be implemented. The labeling obligation with the label not for EU or UK only will also be implemented gradually until it becomes mandatory for food from July 1st and 25. Until then, the British customs authorities will gradually reduce the inspection density from 10 to 5%. The implementation takes place on the part of the European Union by means of various regulations which the European Parliament and the Council have to agree to. Until then, the current regulations will remain in place. And you see, welcome to the Brexit, sir. Brexit has gotten us in a lot of trouble, and that completely unnecessarily, because a lot of things that are done or that were promised to be done after Brexit, let's say the more reasonable parts of the promises could have all been done within the EU. We were talking about the passport stuff and everything, but I won't go to that again. That was a long video already. So we will talk about this a long time, and I'll definitely bring a lot more information, a lot more examples, but I still can't understand it. Why the people did that, I mean. But I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.